morning, Carnation Crafters, and welcome to Carnation Crafts. We are live in the Carnation Craft studio, and as always, it is wonderful to have your company. We're here today with Hidden Gems, so this is our turn to launch it. So it was on C&C a couple of weeks ago, and now it is live on our website, ready to be built straight through Carnation Crafts. And it's all sitting there ready to go as far as I am aware. So we're going to have a look at some demos. What I will say to you is if you want a much more in-depth look, then please do watch the playbacks on C&C as well to get some more inspiration. Because obviously we've only got the one show with it today, so we're going to get a couple of demos done, but there are way more on C&C as well if you want those, so just head back through. I hope you're okay this morning. Hidden Gems can be found on the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. You can find the collection, under the number 230120. And that has got, what are we at, Miss Tiz Towers? It's got a best price of £112.49. That includes your 10% discount. In order to get 10% discount, I believe you are going to have to pop in your code from your newsletter. If you are not signed up to our newsletter, please do. It gives you a lovely, lovely chunky discount. Free P&P in the UK because it is over £50, although as always, if you spend under £50, you are going to have to pay £2.95 for your P&P. So for instance, if you just want to buy the beautiful perfect papers that go so well with this collection, that's going to have a £2.95 P&P on it. The perfect papers are under the number 230130. They are not really paper, they are cardstock. The 300 GSM, you get 6 colours and you get 8 of each colour. So you get this massive pack of 48 sheets, which will last you a good long time. I'm just looking at everybody saying hello. So we've got some people. Hello, people. So hello, Denise. How you doing? Lovely. Hope you're having a great Friday. It's always great when Miss Tiz Taz arrives at my door and we chew the fat over breakfast for a little while. I won't tell you what we had for breakfast because it was not healthy. Good morning, Jacqueline. Good morning, Sue. Good morning, Suzanne. Sitting in the car with hubby, having a day out, going to Southampton for the day. That sounds lovely. I've got to drive halfway down the A1 and back again later today. A day out, but it's about as much of a day out as I get. So here we go, 230120, Hidden Gems on the Carnation Crafts website. It is a stunning collection. It all revolves around the idea of having a shop, building a shop, or if you so choose, building a street of shops. You're on the boardwalk, essentially. You are on the street looking down at your shops and you can build up. So obviously when we think of fresh blooms, stuff like that, it all comes in together. And it's based around the idea of building a shop front. However, all of those dies, they all can be other things as well. And that's something we didn't get an awful lot of time to demo on C&C, and I would very much like to do that today, to look at some different shapes and see how that all plays as well. So we're going to do a bit of, well, we'll do as much as we can, let's put it that way. The artwork for all of Carnation Crafts products is free and it's on their website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Head over there and click downloads and then click down to free downloads. Once you're on there, there is a little panel on the right hand side that allows you to choose which collection you want to have a look at. This one obviously is Hidden Gems. You're going to go there, you're going to be able to get your free backing papers, you're going to be able to get your free inserts and all of your free artwork, which you print yourself at home on best quality if you can. If you've got the option to use ProPrint, I can't recommend it highly enough. We do have it on the website if you want some, but it does make a corking bit of difference to all the things that you print. And again, it's all on there. Once you've got your vignettes, those sheets that we get with all the images on them, all you're going to do is on the ones that have got the black line going down, that's a mirrored vignette. You don't have to use them. You can use the other ones which you will know as more standard. The ones with the black line, fold it on the black line, spray glue the inside so that it now becomes a piece of A5 paper, die on top, chuck it through your machine and you'll have an image on both sides which will, that's stuck to that, which will look a little bit like, we don't want there, Miss Tiz Taz. And then we can turn it over And we've got it there. That's a mirrored vignette, which is a lovely little thing to have. So we're going to get into demos, but I'm going to do the boards first. I just want to very quickly apologise for the state of my hands. They're very, very swollen at the minute on all of my fingers. I've got little sausages, so I do apologise, and I've got a couple of burn marks on my little fingers. It's been a fun couple of days. So we have got hidden gems. We've got this gorgeous, gorgeous card shape that we've got here, which is really, really pretty. Very, very different. And the reason it's so awesome is because it is so versatile. So you've got your main panel here, and then we've got an extra panel here. Now, that's because this is two sections put together. So actually, that's the same thing. That panel and that panel are exactly the same thing. But we have an extra die that allows us to cut this pattern out of it if you so choose. That's something that's entirely an option for you. If you decide to go that way, you can obviously do that on one side of the panel, or you can do it on both. And that allows us to have this really lovely card shape that sits like that. Or if you so choose, you could sort of do a folded gatefold type card as well. So there's lots of ways of playing with it. But also you can use one piece just independently, sort of like that, and we'll have a look at that today. We can turn things into triangles to make different shapes. There's loads of things that you can do with that one card shape. So you've got your panel here, then on top of it we've got this gorgeous brick wall that sits. If you're creating a shop, that brick wall will sit beautifully on these panels, which allows you to have a kind of a separation, if you like, between your door and your window or anything else that you're building on that street. Your door is here. This window can be cut out using a die, and you can then from that use what are called blurred vignettes. Now I'm just going to very quickly explain blurred vignettes to you. I've got a box somewhere that should have them in actually. Blurred vignettes are very, very specific. We did have them way back for Comfort of Home, and it's a really specific idea that is about perspective. And it's quite hard to explain until you actually have a go with it. Let me just pull out some of my bits and bats here. Just one second. So, a blurred vignette is, let me just pull this and turn these around. That's a blurred vignette. So it's not that your eyes are going whizzy. Now, on this one, I've obviously cut a couple of pieces out of there for my door. But on this one, you can see how this is much more blurred than that one. We're starting to get darker in colour. We're getting a more tonal quality. It's starting to come into focus more. And then there should be, if I haven't used it, a third one, which will be in a much clearer focus. There you go. So that's the three of them together. So you get a much clearer one. You get one that's slightly blurred, and then you get one that's very blurred. And the idea is, it depends where it is. If you're looking through the door of your shop, for instance, that stuff's going to be right in the background. It's just about creating that kind of interest. If you've got something where, for instance, you were doing a card and your door was open, you would have the one that is only slightly blurred, and that would allow it to seem like it's still a background piece, but that you've got that kind of perspective going back. It's pushing the image further away, because the vignettes that we put on top of it, which are very clear, are obviously going to stand out more. So if I was to put this little piece on top of this blurred piece, let's have a look at this. You can start to see how that disappears to the background and this sits in the foreground. And it's about perspective. It's about where do we see it, how do we see it. That then changes as we do this. This now seems like it's sitting further within the shop, and it's to do with the idea that the blurred background gives you different visuals, and then when we get into a much clearer perspective, now it all sort of almost becomes part and parcel of the same thing. So it's about choosing your perspective and choosing why you're using them. So we've got options to play with. I'm just going to show you that in terms of reality, and then we'll carry on with those boards. So if I show you this sample that we've got here, where there's a really good use of those blurred vignettes at the back. We've got that window piece that sits, and then you've got your little pieces at the back where you can just see them. And it's about them being further away, because everything at the fore is much clearer. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. Takes a bit of a while to get your head around it, but it absolutely works. It's just about working out your perspective. How far back do you need them? The further back that you need them, the more you need to use the the blurrier backgrounds. The closer it is to the foreground, the sharper the tonal quality you need. So then we're going to have a look at this. So these florals are a right little boon You cut so many of them so quickly, which is brilliant. Really pretty colours. You've got 4 colourways going through there. Your reds, your whites, your oranges and your pinks. And they work on this vine. Now this vine is clever and we're going to play with this morning. This is designed, so yes, it will absolutely fit on the full panel, but it's also designed, and it was specifically designed by Nick, so that you cut into it and create as much or as little as you want. And it means we can get little creeping vines going up here. So the idea is that we tuck in and play with those effects, and then you can add some florals, just putting on, so you get this beautiful sweep going up, and you're completely in control of that, how that looks. If that's intimidating to you, or you feel like it's going to be a bit much for you to do, then absolutely use the full panel on top of the full panel and put some roses on top of it. But it's absolutely perfect for playing, just piecing it together, and it looks so pretty. One of my favourite pieces out of this is these corner pieces. I'm a massive, massive fan of corner elements, and this is stunning. I love it. I love this one as well for that chunky wood feeling. And again, really great for photo corners on scrapbooking, journaling, all of those things. But this I could use, I think, in any Carnation card that I ever made. I think it just goes with everything. It's so pretty and so perfect. So that's your corner elements, your corner trellis pieces, which are so, so pretty. Is that 1 or 2 boards? It's 1, Miss Tiztaz. These, your edges, aren't they beautiful? I'm in love with that one. I think that's so pretty. Where you've got the door to the shot, if you cut bits of this, where you've got the door, I'm just going to bring this in. You've got little hidey holes at the top here that cut out when you cut the die out, and you can choose what to put in there. You can cut a little bit of this and place it behind, and it gives it a really nice finish on the top of your door. So that is an option for you, but I love that. And I love putting a strip of the pink on top of the white, just to give it a really sweet little difference on the edge of your cards. Then we've got our cheeky little characters that are cute and beyond. So we've got this little scallywag who is having the best time. He's a bit cheeky, bit of a wide boy. Then you've got your doorman, or your man who's welcoming you into the shop. And then you have got Gladys, who is just beyond pretty. She's a very beautiful pigeon with a very beautiful hat and a very, very beautiful coat. So we love Gladys. You've got this beautiful barrel here. I'm just trying to remember the name of that one. Fine produce. Really, really useful to have, because it means we can cut away things from the top and just have the barrel on its own and put our own things on it. Now, one of the parts of this collection is a box of donuts. So one of the things that you can do is get rid of those things on top by snipping off and putting the box of donuts on top. So there's lots of different ways of using it. Please do remember that with all of Carnation Crafts dies, massive part of that process is cutting into them, snipping away and using the relevant bits for you. So for instance, I'm not particularly suggesting this, but if you wanted a towel hanging down from something, the idea is that you can cut that towel away and use it somewhere else for something else. Lots of different options. So the mannequin that we'll come to see in a minute, you could sweep that down her shoulder. The idea with Carnation is that you will always have other ways to play, and that you can snip in and you can change how things look. We then move on to this. I love this. So we've got the beautiful street lamp, which just epic, right? Again, snip in Christmas lights. Think of all of your Christmas cards that we will all be starting to make in about 3 months' time. I think we go to Christmas in June, don't we? And then you've obviously got your shop little sign outside that you could put your own stuff on as well. So super, super sweet. Very, very cute. And those elements, those are things, again, right across the board. You're going to be able to use them in any of your designs. Here is your box of donuts, and then that can either be a donut or a bagel, and your coffee. I left my coffee downstairs. I did just say to Miss Tiztaz, I really wish I brought my coffee up now, but I left it downstairs. I will mourn it from a distance, from up here.
Well, I left my donuts in the donut shop, so.
Are all of your donuts still in the donut shop, Miss Tiztaz? That's a sad state of affairs. And then you have got this beautiful, beautiful mannequin. Hold on, Sue Martinez, I can see a tiny heart on the barrel board. It's between the box on the top and the thing next to it. Wait. You know I see faces and everything. Hold on. Is that where you mean, Sue? That little heart. Just in between there. Is that what you mean? Because I see the whole thing as a face. I see that as an eye and that as a nose. And then I see that as Queen Victoria. Can you see it? There's the nose, there's her crown, and that would be her neck coming down. Can you see it?
I don't think you need coffee.
Do you not think I need coffee? I see faces in everything. Sue says yes, absolutely. So there you go. That is your little love heart, Sue. And we know, historically, I did ask Nick about this the other day actually, that every now and again Nick will hide Easter eggs in his designs, and it's one of my greatest pieces of fun is going looking for them when I first see the collection, because he doesn't put them in all of them, but he puts them in some of them, and he knows that I know that, and he knows that my mission is to find them. So sometimes he'll do really obvious ones, and sometimes he does a little hidden sneaky things that I can go and find. So I hadn't actually spotted that love heart, but I did see a face in the barrel. Sue says yes, I can see Queen Victoria as well. It's weird, isn't it, how it plays with your brain. My favourite, look at this. I love her so much. I think I love them anyway, the real life ones. I just think it's so pretty, and I love the fact she's got this wee scarf that you can drape over, or you can pull down her side, you know, down her shoulder as well. Beautiful necklace. Now that little opening there just slots on top, and then you can glue that down. Just comes together in the most beautiful manner, and again can be used throughout all of your card making. She is a knockout standalone piece. You could make some beautiful things with that. And if you start to think of things like your sewing bits and bats, and you know, all the bits that came in crafty little things that you could put with that as well. So if you know anyone who's a dressmaker, all of those bits that we can add in. And then these, your little tuck-ins and your little extras. So you've got the beautiful stool here, which I love. Again, comfort of home in that kitchen scene, really nice. You've got your buckets of flowers, can be used anywhere on any collection. It is just an add-in, really pretty. And then your taller, and again, bring in fresh blooms, bring in your arrangement maker. Think of the ways that you can start to change these up as well. Plus you've got your beautiful white ferns. So again, everything with Carnation is always about the addition to your other pieces. I know Carnation call them collections. I know that they're classed as collections, but to me they are additions. It's something that I add to my original collection that I first ever had. And it's just about building from there. You know, it's about sort of getting extras. So my first ever collection from Carnation ever that I ever touched was Garden Safari. Going back some way now. So if I think of Garden Safari, what could I bring into this? Well, if any of you have got Garden Safari and your memory goes back that far, it's got that beautiful gate, the outside gate, and it's got like a trellis piece on the side. These are perfect for it. The vine that I've got is perfect for it. There are so many ways of bringing so many collections to everything. So start to think about your original collection from Carnation, the first one you ever got, and then think about how you can build these into that. They all go. You know, even if it's only elements of it, they will all go. It's a really important thing with Carnation, because it's hand-drawn art and it's done in-house, and it's that process that we get. Sketch, and when that sketch is done, it's known that it's going to be a die at the end of it. So the whole journey is taken from start to end to get us the product that we get, and it's important. It's an important part. Right. Are we ready for demo, Mrs. Taz? Are you a bit chilly? Mrs. Taz is putting a jumper. She's got a great big woolly jumper on. It's orange and pink, and she is very bright and beautiful. Was it a Christmas present? Well, it's very pretty. Mrs. Taz has got a very beautiful sister, but her sister is the image of her. Even now. Don't tell her.
How do you know I'm not Tash?
I know that's the thing. I always think one day that Miss Tash could turn up and I would have no idea that it wasn't Miss Taz, except for maybe she would have trouble, you know, setting the show up. So there you go. But they are so similar, it's ridiculous. Right, so that original card shape. So I've got this here. Now, what I've done, Sue says, I've yet to use Garden Safari. I'll have to dig it out now. Listen, Sue, this is the thing, isn't it? We have certain collections that I have, as a crafter, a bit of an issue with the idea of collections, because I think we tend to put things away in a group, or I do. You know, I'll be like, oh, well, that is Garden Safari, that is that. I'm trying desperately for myself to break that habit and think, actually, what I've got in here is a series of dies that can be used in different ways. So maybe more in my brain to be effectively thinking, that's a really good Valentine's Day card, that's a really good piece for if there's a gardener in my life, if there is somebody who sews. So I'm trying to break it up in that way, so that my collections are more about events and people and those kind of things, rather than the collections that Carnation give us, because we can use them across the board. So I hope that helps. Probably not, it's just the way my whizzy brain works, but it's taken me a long time to retrain my brain. I just think it's an important part of it. Right, this card shape, this is a card shape. Let me just get this out. So when you cut this card shape out, it looks like this. So you've got the two pieces, okay? So you can see where I've got red liner tape here, and you can see where I've got those panels. That's how it looks. And we're going to put those pieces together. Now, I can do that. Let me just get my pokey. Let's just do this while we're here. And then you can see. If I take these two pieces and just shuffle them together. Now, where I've got that, my card shape is now whole, and I've got ways and means of playing with that. So I can pull those side pieces in, and I can have essentially a fold over to make it like almost like a gate fold, if you like, that kind of shenanigan. So I create almost a box. Now you could actually create a box. If you create a little matchbox to go inside, it'd be beautiful. So you can then open it, and obviously you'd have your surprise inside that. Now that's really beautiful if you want to create a shop, because obviously we could put our door on there, and that can be the opening. You're probably more likely to do it that way if you're right-handed, but put your door on there when you open the door, and you go into the little world of the shop that you've built. So really, really sweet, really lovely ideas. Now there's another die within that that allows you to then cut out your patterned piece. Now when I say it's versatile, what I mean by that is, on this one, where I've got that central panel here that I've just stuck together and the two side pieces, I've also got options. I can actually chop this off here. I can chop it off there. We've got snip points going along. So for this one, what I've done is snipped it there really, and I've got rid of that middle panel, and I've created two of those pieces and just chopped off any excess, and I've created this panel from it. Now I wanted to do something different, so I have chosen to do that in the blush pink. I really love the blush pink because it's just slightly off-white, and it's soft and kind of, it sort of looks creamy. There's something really lovely about it. Very, very marshmallow sort of effect. So I've got that here. Now what I might do with this while we're just playing is kind of work simultaneously with these, just to give you some ideas. So if I'm going to use this vine, and I'm going to use it in one piece, okay, and I'm going to put that there. To me it's a lot. I don't think it looks bad, it just looks like a lot. And I think Nick was right when he was saying, you know, the idea behind this is you cut one piece in order to create a million pieces, because we cut it up where we want it to be. Now if I put that onto here as a whole piece, again, it just feels like it's too much to me. So I like the idea of being able to snip into it and just create a difference. And that's kind of what I'm going to do on this, just so we can have a look at that coming together and just build some height on it. Just to show it, because we didn't get a chance to do this on CNC because it's ever so slightly longer, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, this will be the first time that I've actually done it this way. I'm having trouble bending my fingers. I do apologise about my ridiculous hands. If any of you are old enough to remember Kenny Everett and his very large hand, that's what my hands look like. Miss Tiztaz will not know what I'm talking about. But some of you at home might remember Kenny Everett. In fairness, I was quite young. But, you know, older than Miss Tiztaz. I think most people are older than Miss Tiztaz, to be fair. Right. So, I'm just going to start snipping into this, so that I've got some elements. So now I can start to work out, well, how much do I want? How much on my base do I want? Now with any vine, the likelihood is that my widest point is going to be at the base. It tends to be how they grow, right? That being said, that would still be too wide for me. I would still want a narrower panel at the end, and then to bring it out to its widest point, probably somewhere around here, just to give it more of a more of a realistic look, but also less of a bulky look. So then I can go into here and I can think, right, okay, well, in which case I'm going to snip off here, and I'm just going to snip off there. And I've got a little piece that I can start to make a start with, and I'll pop it there, and I'm going to start to glue in just on the back here. Now I'm going to need to cover those workings at the end, which I probably won't do today, but just as an explanation, because when I tuck this in and I push down, I'm going to leave it free at the top so that I can still manipulate it, because it's very fine, so I can still manipulate. But what's going to happen is at the back of my card, I'm going to have this here. And I don't like that. Like if I'm sending that to somebody, I want to cover it. So I would just cut another one just to put on the back to hold it. That's all I would do there. But I'm going to start building, and I'm going to start snipping. And I think these are so pretty and so intricate and such a nice idea to have. Mainly because I like being in control. Let me start to build into different directions. So what we're doing is trying to create that difference. Hold on, there it is. So I'm doing it on the front, just tiny amounts, and then gluing it onto the back. And I'm just going to create that point of height. But see how I'm not pinning it down? What I don't want to do, my problem for me visually is when I stick the whole thing down as one panel, and this is what Nick was saying as well, you don't have that start and end point to it. What you've got is this very, very sort of chunky detail. Now it can be perfect. If I was going to use it in its base format like that, I would be using it on an 8x8, and I would be using it as a corner palette, or a edge to my card, and I think it would be stunning just like that. And that's why it's so valuable to have the two. But it's control, isn't it? It's about being able to do it the way that we want to do it. So I'm just going to keep building up. Miss Tiztaz, you can sing while I do this. Stop singing now, Miss Tiztaz. That was lovely. It's very pretty.
Do I have the X Factor?
You can absolutely go on X Factor as long as you don't drag me with you. I have no desire to meet Mr. Cowell.
We've got to do a duet now.
Oh, Lord.
God, what would our duet song be?
Islands in the Stream.
No.
California Dreamin'. We could do many a duet. Neither of us can sing, by the way, so, you know, just so you know, it would be terrible. So where I've got the curvature here, it's going in both directions, so it gives me choices. It's too chunky for me, I think. But if I would want it to be behind. I think I'm going to need to get rid of part of one side of that because I think it's just a little too much for me. It's just visually building up, isn't it? Sue Martin is saying, Carnation Crafts should do a meet the team section on the website so we can see photos of people like Taz and Nick. I've got no idea what either look like unless they are shy. Ms. Taz has actually come on camera before, and I'm sure if I cajoled her to do it now, she probably would. Mr. Nick, I don't think you'll ever see. I think he likes to be an enigma. I think it's important to him to remain completely non-identifiable.
Wizard of Oz.
He is like the Wizard of Oz. Although with a bit more of a bad attitude sometimes, I'm just saying. It's literally my life's work to torment Nick as much as I possibly can. He is a wonderful human with insane talent. Yeah, I've said about them doing a meet the team section. So you could see Mr. Mark and Kirsty and the warehouse team and Lynn and Bunny and everybody else who's in there. Maybe they will one day. You never know. Might put you off for life. You might never come back, Miss Taz. We might lose all of the customers. Now, where I've got points like that, where I've got an end, I'm not too worried about it. I am going to glue it down just a smidge, but I'm going to cover some of it with roses. So I'm not too worried. So I'm building height. I'm not worried about it being neat because a lot of this I can go in and I can cover all of my workings. Free that up and Feel free there. I've got glue all over these scissors, Miss Taz. Right, now a little bit like you're doing your own variety of topiary. It's just a case of going in and deciding where do you want those parts. I'm trying to build something much narrower going up rather than having that sort of chunky monk at the side. Hello, Miss Serenity. How are you doing, lovely? So again, it's how do you want that to be built? I quite like it going in at an angle there. So I've got that height, and then I think I may leave it at that height. I might be happy with it at that height, but again, you can add to it, you can take things away, and part of the reason why I'm not sort of gluing the whole pieces and leaving them all free at the top is that so I can go in and change things around as well. Stacey, hold on. Stacey says, can we maybe do a behind the scenes to see how you make the dies and everything else, please? Hope everyone's okay. This is something that I have asked Nick to do. Nick won't come on camera, I can guarantee you that much. But I think there is a really lovely value in seeing a sketch being done and then, you know, the process of how that sort of becomes a die. So you can sort of see the way that that comes about, because not to sing Carnation's praises too much, but when you see the work that goes into a collection, it's extraordinary, the amount that they put into it. And we take it for granted, I think. But things like, I always talk to you about getting the free backing papers and getting the free inserts and stuff, because every single one of those takes work for them to do, and it's free. Like, they give away the artwork, and there's not many companies that do that. And as a freelancer, it's really nice to be able to say that. But as a crafter, it's invaluable to have all of that for free, because if I'm making cards, I know I don't have to worry about it. So the process isn't just about providing you with a die, it's about providing you with all of the elements to craft with as well as that die. So it's just a nice place to be, isn't it? Right, somewhere amongst here I've got a little bag of roses. Here we go. So I'm going to do my best to see these. I'll put them on my pink mat. But yeah, Stacey, it's fascinating to watch. When you go down to the Carnation offices and you see little sketches lying around and Nick's little design pieces where he's been sort of playing and constructing stuff, it's fascinating to watch. They're a very, very awesome team. And usually there's a McDonald's. Paula's saying, "Cool, lovely." Hello, Paula, you all right? Right, when I'm putting these roses down, because I'm blind as a bat, which doesn't help, I found it's easier for me to just pick them up with my little glue stick and just place them, because it puts both glue on the back and it helps me pick up. So what I was saying, where I've got an end point, you might not be able to see it, but it's a very blunt end point there, and I want rid of it. I don't want it sitting there because you can see it and it looks funky to me. So I'm just going to pick up, have I got an individual? Let's go for this one here. And I'm just going to place. And I'll add some coloured roses too. I won't just use white because I'm using a very white space. What might be easier for you guys, just while I'm doing that? Just so you can see it a bit clearer. So while I'm playing through, oh, Miss Tiztazza took my glue away. Did not think that one through, did I? So I do want some colour, because what's happening here is the fade out on the white on white. And I taught you a lot about white, eating white. You can see where that's happening here. So where I've got my greenest points, certainly I want to put some white roses there to cool the tone of the green, but I'm going to need to put some colour in to really make it stand out. Let me just add a little bit of glue there, paste some out there. Now what I'm going to do now is add in some very soft, I don't think you guys will be able to answer me in time. I was going to say, do you want red or do you want pink? I'll go for pink. Don't you give me that luck, Miss Tiztaz. The reason I go for pink on this is just because I want it to be lighter. So Wendy says, I'm well, thank you for asking. I just received my Hidden Gems collection. It was an early birthday present, February the 14th. What a gift. It's your birthday on Valentine's Day, Miss Serenity. That's so lovely. My ex-sister-in-law's birthday is Valentine's Day. Oh. So now we start to bring in some colour and we start to see how that vine comes together. I can see there's some nakey pieces here where I could do the little bit more vine. I'm not going to worry about them too much because what I can do is put in some filler roses so I can add and just build out the shape of that vine by adding the colour of the roses rather than more of that dense green. It just allows me to play in a different way. And I'm not going to play too much with this because you've obviously seen the main part. But just to place some down, I think I've managed to put glue on the table and not onto the actual piece. Now I'm going to leave it for a minute while I just settle and I think about it, and then I will come back. But I love the idea of the vine waving its way up along the card. There's something so pretty about that idea of tucking in, cutting, choosing and being in control of what I'm doing rather than having the concept in control of what I'm doing. I've got a real issue with buying dies and being forced for it to be the thing that it is. I like to be able to play. Now, this wee girl here, isn't she so pretty? I could use her a million times over. Now, one of the great things about this is because when we're saying about the artwork is designed so that you get your cut lines in it, these are those cut lines, and that means that the die is created so that we'll be able to do things with this. And one of the magic pieces about this is if I grab her by the waist, I pop her finger out and I place that there and I push, then she shapes automatically into that corseted design. Simple as that. So you're just going to pinch that waist forward, use those cut lines to your advantage, and she will corset. Isn't that so clever? Just a tiny, tiny point of difference, but it really does make a difference. So it's those things that we're going to remember. Now I've got style choices with her. I could put her down the centre. Look how pretty she is. Or I can put her here. Now I am going to put her on this side. She is going to be my focal point, and my card is going to sit that way. Okay, so this will be my forward point, that will be my background piece. So she is going to sit prominently forward. Now what I'm going to do is pin flare her. What I'm going to tell you at home is don't pin flare her because the pin flare is going to come through the holes here. However, if you were going to make the same card and you were doing it with that plain background, then absolutely, you know, you've got that choice there. So just to show you her on the plain background, so you can see her in both different aspects. So we've got that one. Okay, she's going to pop much more on that one. She's just automatically going to pop so much on that one. So what then I don't want is to overpower her by using a full vine, and this is when I would start to definitely want to cut that in, just to make sure I'm just getting that change of scene, if you like, because that would be right behind it, and that's going to, the colour on that is going to take my eye towards that instead of towards her. Can you see where I'm going? However, if I wanted to raise her on foam tape and put her on top of that, then I can make a real aspect out of that as well. So all your different play ways, just think of the different ways of creating, how you're going to pull that forward and how you can make that happen. Now what I'm going to do with her actually is double her up. So where I've pinched her waist, I'm going to do the same here with the same process. So we're just pinching to create that corseted piece, but not as much on the one that's going to sit at the back. Take some pin flare and I'm going to raise her good and proper, just like my mama did with me, Miss Taz. Raise her good and proper. And I'm going to put one on top of t'other, so I can pinch those together to get my rough space in, lay her down and leave her. So now she really pops. Okay, we've got that really lovely sense of space. I could cut one of those off if I wanted, or I could glue those together, which is what I am going to do. But it's just about creating, it's so that we get an extra bit of height, but also so that I can stick her down more carefully onto my back piece without all of my glue squishing. So pinching her up and working out where she's going to stand. So I think I want her on a grounded device. So I think I'll place her there and I can pop some florals in front of her. So shoulder to shoulder, I can measure that my glue is going to need to be there and there. That's my first point of contact with the adhesion. And that should hold her down enough at the top. I don't want to squish her. I don't want to lose that pin flare because that shape is so beautiful. Just with that pinch on that waist, that shape is just incredible. So then I'm going to do the same down here. A little bit just on this stand. That'll do for me. And then I would leave her to dry for 24 hours because I need that pin flare to dry. So super, super pretty, super, super easy. Now I can't leave her like that. First of all, that stand is going to disappear. Now what I will say is, just to be annoying, Miss Towers, can I just borrow the front camera for 1 second? Actually, I don't think I'm going to help because I'm wearing black behind it. But have I got a sheet of, hold on. Can we start to see how her colours pop forward? And it's just that point of difference. So what we're looking at is having just that change in colour. Now I've got a space in my corner where my vine is, and I'm going to fill that with the little street lamp coming down. If I can find a spare one. Here we go. So I've got this little lamp. What I'm going to do is get rid of the menu from it. I don't want it. So I've just got the little lamp. I'm going to turn that over. I've got glue all over these scissors, which is not helping me at all. Right, where's my little bit of this on here? Pin it to that corner. So I'm just filling in that gap. That means I don't have to put too much more green in there. I don't need to worry about it. I can just fill in the gap that's there without overpowering it. So then I just need to finish her a little bit. So what I'm going to do is give her a lovely scarf. Shape it well. Just pinch in. And then I'm going to place a little bit of pin flare. Isn't she pretty? She's so lovely. There's something very Audrey Hepburn about it that I really love. Now I need to add some detail at the bottom, otherwise she's floating in midair. So we're going to shape out these little flower pots. I'm going to add some pin flare. Like I say, if it's me at home, I wouldn't be adding pin flare when you've got the see-through background. I would stick 100% to wet glue in proper places. It's just for the sake of speed. And I'm going to put one that's lower down. I've got the height up here. She gets lower and I'm going to bring it down. So my visual is still her because I'm cutting that off in height wise with the things that are underneath it. She remains my center focus. And it's just like about looking at your lines. So I'll take one of these, bring it round, same thing. Obviously I'm going to squish that straight through the back of my card. So we are as good as, you know, as good as pretty. It's simple and clean and it's not overpowering. And the idea is with the vine that we stop the overpowering, we snip in, we make it what we want to be. Or you use it as a full panel, but if you're going to use it as a full panel, make sure you're using it on white. And you've got this really, really pretty card. Yeah. Beautiful, right? Simple, clean, fresh. It's just something a little bit different. We saw so many shop fronts when we did it on CNC, and it was really important to me that you saw different ways of crafting with it, because this is such a massively versatile set. And And I like the idea of playing with height, and because we've got that beautiful card shape that's got that lovely elongated feel to it, and I love DLs, so you've got a sense of doing 3 DLs, and that's a really nice way of looking at it. And because you can create that triptych, so where you've got this and you've got that triptych, so you've got the 3 panels, you can create some really beautiful ways of, you know, creating 3 triptychs. Now, what I mean essentially by that, if you want to keep this really clean, I'm going to do another demo, don't worry guys, but if you want to keep something really clean and toned down with this, there's really beautiful ways of playing with doing literally very, very little, just to create something really stunning in the form of triptych. Now, when we're using, I'll be very quick, I promise, but when we're using a triptych, if you're playing triptych wise, what you don't really want is to have everything exactly in the same place. I'm sorry about that bending a little bit at the bottom there, guys. If you can, hold on, it's annoying me. If you can change the height of something like that, so the bottom one is lower, and she's your focus, and the other 2 are further back because of perspective. What that means is I actually don't need a grounding device, but if I want a grounding device, I promise I'll be fast, I'll be fast, I'll be fast. I'm just using these as a basic example, so I'm obviously not doing a finished card here. Let me just find one more, here we go. If I want a grounding device, simply by placing something at the foot of that and that, which is at the same height, okay? That gives me a grounding device for those 2. We know that's grounded because it's nearer the bottom, but I can do the same here. And what that's going to do is allow this amazing piece of perspective, because that sits more forward and they sit more back. If you're going to do something like that, just make sure that on your center one, you're using foam pads or you're using pin flare and raising it. And on those 2, you're keeping it flat. That'll help with your perspective wise. But something as simple as that with a sentiment across the middle is a really beautiful card, and that's the power of Carnation. So that's not an actual demo, I just wanted to explain the idea of triptychs, because triptychs are really powerful as cards, and I love that that card shape gives me that. So I think this is going to just be looking at that mannequin again, but in a slightly different way. She says, right, let me bring this back in. I'm always such a mess when I'm doing this. When Sharon demos, she's so tidy. All right, Miss Towers. I'm just not a tidy person, I think. Well, I am in my house. Usually, I'm not a tidy crafter. Maybe that's the thing. Are any of us? Right, nested dies. So I'm using the, I think these are the Shabby Chic, and this is your Shabby Rectangle, or it could be your Shabby Labels. I can't remember which one it is specifically off the top of my head. But same as always, you cut them out in your white. If whenever you're using your card bases, remember 350 GSM is going to give you the best support system that you can get. Scored at 1/2 inch, pulled away and then towards your body, and then you can just shuffle. I'll have to go, someone's knocking. And then you can put those together, card base formed. Jacqueline says, Carla, your explanations are always so concise and clear. Thank you. You might be the only person that's ever said that, Jacqueline. I tend to waffle. So I'm using one of the Perfect papers here. Really pretty colour. I love that colour. Sage. 5mm foam tape. Now build a bit of chunky monkey height on this. Pull this down and pop that there. And while I'm just placing, am I about central? While I'm just placing, just a reminder that this is 230130 on the Carnation Crafts website for the Hidden Gems collection. You've got a special price today of no idea because it's gone way off my screen. It's $112.49. Please do remember to use the code from your newsletter. If you're not signed up to the newsletter, please do. It will give you lots of information. Just look at that. Look at that lovely chunk. See, when you have that and you've got that chunk on it, it reminds me of a mirror. It reminds me of a fairy tale mirror. So I start to think of where I could go with that. You could create a handle or something along those lines to create something. And if you created an aperture inside there to be able to think of those fairy tales going forward, be really sweet. And just that visual of using a nested die gives you such massive impact. Right, your corners. I love Talk about fairy tale. Options. If I want to, I can place those in just there. Cuts up my space, but it gives me a beautiful line to work with, doesn't it? Really stunning line, but it cuts my space a lot. So I think I would probably be more inclined to work with them just slightly higher. Maybe not as high as that, but just slightly higher. Okay, it's just going to give me a little bit more playway. But the main thing to remember is that you make them equal. So wherever you're placing it, you need to make sure that the other one is the same. Otherwise, they're going to look odd. Watch me now do that completely wrong, but do as I say, not as I do, right? So little tiny bit of glue, and I'm just going to make sure I've got them on the tippy edge just here, and a little bit just down here. Let me just get my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. Right, that edge and that edge are my commitment points. So as soon as I commit to that, because I've glued, that's where that's going to go. And then the rest will fall in line. From that, I can then go to this one and make sure that that is the same. So the way I'm getting my commitment point is literally just a tiny amount of glue on that end, tiny on that end, tiny little bit just in the middle here. That's my commitment point, because those two pieces have to meet. And I'm looking for the line on my shabby where it just hits, just overlaps. So on this bit, I know it's here. That's going to just overlap ever so slightly there. Same again, and I should theoretically be roughly about right. Okay, so your commitment points are important, and the commitment point is always where you put the glue on the back. So I've got that nice space in now, and I can see where I'm playing and what I've got, what room I've got. So we're going to have a look at the wee girl again, but this time we're going to allow her to wear some jewels. She's so pretty. So that just comes off as a separate piece, and we're just going to hook it over her neck here, but I want to shape her first, and I'm going to really go in with that waist pinch. I love this. That's so clever. If only I could do that with my own waist, Miss Taz. That would be a very nice thing. You don't need to. Oh, thank you, lovely lady. And then I am going to fill this excess here, and I am going to put a lot of pin flare on. I'm whacking that right up. Now if I turn that over, can you see the height I've built? Now obviously I'm going to have to let that dry, but that is quite the height. I want her to have that massive point of height. I'm going to ground her by using this line. And then a tiny pinch just there. That's it, my adhesion's there. I don't need to worry about it, but I do need to stick something at the bottom to make sure that her stand stays exactly where it is. And that allows it to just be rooted. Need to give it roots. Jacqueline says me too. Oh, it would be nice. I did buy one of those hold-in things. This has always stopped me when I start with stories like this, Miss Taz. I bought one of those hold-in suits, and it holds you all in. Nearly passed out. There was nearly a trip to A&E. Never again. Do you know what? Doesn't matter anymore. I'm of an age. Just doesn't matter anymore, Miss Tiz Taz. I know. Well, Miss Tiz Taz got one because I got one. I was sensible enough to only do it once, but she's worn it twice. I think she also saw stars as well. I give up. I really like cheese sandwiches and cheese on toast. I just think that's more important these days. Right. Place her jewellery down. Isn't that so pretty? So simple and so pretty. What beautiful design, and it's that pop of colour. Tiny amount, but it's important. It's a really beautiful pop of colour. You could, I've got a little sentiment here, you could at this point just finish there. I mean, she's so pretty. Play with your sentiment. Where would you put it? What would you want it to be? Where would you want it to be? How would you do it? She's beautiful. She's so pretty, and I love clean cards. I love that simple look, so I would be happy with that. I do just want to bring in Gladys though, because she's quite the hero. She's so sweet. Oh, Jacqueline says hubby is cooking bacon sandwich. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. Jacqueline, I mean, tell him sharing is caring. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but is it brown sauce or is it ketchup that you have in it?
Brown sauce or ketchup? Well, for me it's butter, and it has to be actual butter in a bacon bhanji. And actually, because of my heritage, and I won't go too much into that because, you know, but because of my heritage and where I'm from, when we have a bacon bhanji, the majority is that we have canned tomatoes, if you like, chopped tomatoes, and they are cooked with a tiny bit of black tea inside them. So you brew really strong black tea, and you pop that with some salt and pepper into your tomatoes, and you have those on a bacon bhanji, and it's quite the thing. Brown sauce. Sue says, I bought one, and not only could I not breathe, but I couldn't eat either. Ooh, Sue, back away from it. No. It's going to stop you eating. It's not worth it. That's all I'm saying. No pain, no gain, but no. No, no. No. Right, what have I done with my pin flare? There it is. Brown sauce. What would you have, Miss Tistabs? I know this because, you know, I cook for you.
Ketchup.
Ketchup all the way. My children are quite ketchupy boys. Actually, my children quite like mayonnaise on a bacon sandwich, which knocks me funny. Like, that seems wrong to me. I can't quite find peace with that, I'll be honest. But they like it, and that's all that's important, right? Right, I'm going to put this just flat, just at the side. I'm not sticking because I think I might want to move it a little bit in a minute. So I'll just put a bit. Plenty of pin fur in that gully that we just made by pinching. And just place that forward slightly higher. Not much. Just to give it that fullness. Look at that, so pretty. And then you get to choose. Do you want to use the sentiment? Do you not? And where would you put it? I don't think I'm going to use it. I think I'm full enough as it is. I don't think I want to overface it with a sentiment at the side. It's an option, isn't it? And when I'm using smaller spaces, I love sentiments actually. I do. I tend to use them less unless it's something sort of specific that I'm saying, but I do really love them and they create a space. On a card like that, when it's small, if I wanted to put a sentiment, I would be very much inclined to stamp it straight onto the card base rather than actually have it as an extra piece, because you're working in a very confined space and I wouldn't want to interfere with that. So what I might do, just as a little addition, just to give it that little bit of extra oomph, is just place. Which way should we go, Carla? Let's go. We'll just do one. 2. 3. And that just takes away your naked edge and just allows a little bit of sparkle. So 2 completely different cards and very different, what's the word I'm looking for? Very different feels to them as far as, Miss Taz is looking at me because she wants to bring the other one that I made and I don't know what I've done with it. Here it is. 2 very different feels to 2 very different cards using exactly the same collection. And that's the power, isn't it, of what we have when we get these collections. If I just... place and place. So you can see the beautiful tone on that rose blush. Serena says, here in the States we call the BLT bacon, lettuce and tomato sandwich and they put mayo on it. Yeah, now they have BLT here. The BLT over here does have mayonnaise on it, but it tends to be cold bacon, right?
I've never known it to have warm bacon.
But cold bacon to me is like a strange thing. So the tomato that we have here, I assume you have it over in the States as well, Serenity. It's like a can of tomatoes, but they're chopped. So they're like plum tomatoes and they're chopped up into small pieces. And so it's almost like a chunky passata, I suppose. And it is divine. So that on your bacon sandwich with a bit of black pepper in it. It's the way forward. So yeah, 2 very different cards made with lots of similar elements from the same collection. When you get this and you're playing with it, or if you've already got it, what is lettuce? Who knows? And you're playing with it. A really great way of starting to, I guess, understand your own style, which you will have, everybody has it, is taking things like this, where you've got the pink. the blush pink is trying that on like the blush blue and on the natural, see how the tones come out differently, because what's happening, if you put that on blue rather than on the pink, on the rose, you'll get different tonal qualities that will come out. So this will start to pop out more. So you'll start to bring forward a different element. And if you were to put it on the blush blue, then I would be more inclined to use the red flowers rather than the pink. And it's about how you play with those colorways. And then when we go to something like this, the different nested dies are going to give you different looks as well. So lots of different ways, but a lot of those elements are the same thing. And that's the point, isn't it? We're creating for mood, we're creating for occasion, for person, for all of those things, rather than it being, this is my collection and this is how it works. We get to just push the boat, and I love Carnation for that. I'm never going to stop singing their praises for that. It's given me so much freedom as a crafter. So I am going to be eternally grateful for it. Mrs. Taz, when are we back? That's why we need the corset, because we don't know what the letter is. Ooh, she did all the things already. Crafters Select on Monday at 12 p.m. That's Miss Sharon, isn't it, doing demos, and I will be presenting. And then after that, I'm lost. Miss Taz is looking. It's all on the calendar on the Carnation Crafts website.
Just like you.
Back to air, yeah. And then me. Oh no, I'm here for it.
And then it's me and you on Friday.
With
Just Like You.
Just Like You, yeah, I'm here for it. So Crafters Select on Monday, and it's ace. You're going to love the Crafters Select. And that's Monday at 12 p.m. I'll be presenting, Sharon will be demonstrating, and then Sharon's on Thursday on C&C with Just Like You, which has got a brand new colourway. I'll be here demoing it on Friday at 10 a.m. and it is so awesome, the new colourway for it. It is cute as a button. You're going to love it. Right, guys. It has been divine to have your company. I have now got cravings for bacon sandwich, and I've got no bacon in, so that's not going to be fun. Right, I hope you have the most corking weekend. Please stay safe, please stay warm, please take care, and be good. And if you can, if not, don't worry about it. And I will see you on Monday. Until then, stay safe. Bye.